שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לי 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 לי, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לי 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 לי, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. לי 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 לי, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבט אחים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to John Sauvey, who, as usual, is adding beauty and warmth to our service, and to our president, Jeff Kaetzer, and to Russ Schultz, a member of the board, but most importantly to all of you. And I saw Scott Sloter streaming the service as we came in, so those who were unable to be with us in person, we're happy to have you online as well. We are going to begin on page 120, and everyone who knows it is going to be invited to join in the blessing. I'm actually going to light the lights. Just sing it?
Sure. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
At the top of page 124, I invite everyone to join in. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. On page 142 is Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Halachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Anakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni Shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem L'Shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Baruch Hu.
On page 144, please join in Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah v'almad yivrak hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechonu v'yomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael b'gala b'gala u'vizman kariv v'yimeru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Le'omaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitalev V'yithalal Shemei D'Kudsha Barichu Le'olam in kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damihiran v'yalma v'yimeru. Amen. Amen. Starting right here, let me make everyone who might not know this book be aware of the format. We're going to do something on one side or the other, here 144 and 5, and then move on to the next pair of pages. So we're done with 44. Please turn to page 146 and rise for the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. Responsively at the middle of page 151. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol.
All these things your Torah gives to us.
And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives.
What could be a truer token of your abiding love
than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Achuto Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. Together. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'shofbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'yod al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'nei necha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'yasitem et kol mitzvotai
V'yitem Kedoshim Le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher Hotzeiti Etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, Liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 157 at the middle, responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame them.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bar kodesh, nora tahilot osef ele, nora tahilot osef ele. Malechutecha ra'u vanecha, mokei hayam, lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zelianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch, le'olam va'ed.
V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, uga'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam meritotam, b'ni uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam le'olam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash.
Tefillah is on page 164. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ברוחך חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומחייהם אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך פעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Together on page, you may sit down, and then together on page 173 at the middle. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusion of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Ritzei, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu le'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel u'tehil ratzon tamid u'tehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai she'otecha levadecha be'yira navod she'otecha levadecha be'yira navod. We pause for Hoda'ah, for a time to think about anything and everything for which we are thankful. So, what are we thankful for this week? Birthdays, anniversaries, must be something going on out there.
Well, I'm grateful in a time of sadness that all my family was able to come together.
Family coming together, even for a funeral, is still the mitzvah. Lovely. What else? You had a birthday this week. Happy birthday, Trudy.
I got a contract from Fort Worth Opera to be in Don Pasquale
Wonderful.
just this week, so that's pretty
Bravo.
exciting. Yeah.
Very good. All right, so whether we've said it aloud or not, we've all got lots to be thankful for just being here together, if nothing else. So we thank you, God, and we also pray for peace, which gives all the rest even more resonance. Page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon Lekol HaShalom. Ki atahu melech Adon Lekol HaShalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
On page 180, there is a traditional prayer for silent meditation in the evening. And on page 181, there are two more modern interpretations of what the editors of our book think we might be praying for. And none of them are necessarily any better than whatever you in your heart would be praying for. So let's for a moment pray silently.
May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and strength, and my Redeemer. O Lord, my rock and strength, and my Redeemer.
Amen. We continue with Seder Kriyat HaTorah LeShabbat, our Sabbath Torah service, page 363. Ashrei Adam matzah chachma, Adam yafik tivuna. Happy is the one who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For its value is greater than silver, its yield than fine gold. It is more precious than rubies. No treasure can match it.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Hudavar Adonai mirushalayim, susharim rashechem, usahit v'chei olam, v'yavo melech HaGadol, mihu melech HaKavod, Adonai Tzevaot, u'melech HaKavod, Selah.
In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kidushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlu Adonai iti, Unaromama Shemo Yachdah. Lecha Adonai Agadula v'Hafti v'Ered v'Hanetzach v'Hahod Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz Lecha Adonai hamalacha v'amid naseh lekol rosh. Lai 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 Hallelujah 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 Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hashema hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hashema hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Last week, especially if you were here not just Friday night when it was mentioned, but Saturday morning when we had a bar mitzvah, we read, you will recall, the Ten Commandments. You know them even if you missed last week. A major high point. We've been going through the Torah since, the end of Sukkot, through Genesis, 20 chapters into Exodus, and we stand at the foot of Sinai and receive the Ten Commandments. Then, this week, all right, the Torah goes on with several chapters of additional laws. It doesn't say, at least at the beginning, that this also comes from Sinai, but at the end, that's what it says, all right? There's another account of them. Everybody, not everybody, but you'll see 74 people going up Sinai, but only Moses getting all the way to get the law. And he brings down a book of the code. Some commentators think that's the whole Torah. Others think it's just these 4 chapters of additional mitzvot, but by tradition there are 613 of them in the Torah. And then we, because Jewish tradition is that every one of us stood at Sinai, all right, we say in this Torah portion, everything which God has spoken, na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will listen to. All right? We'll talk about that a little more in the sermon when I get there. But the context is interesting. First of all, the average folk are afraid to go up, but also God says, tell them to stay away from the mountain. This is dangerous stuff. All right? But the leaders all get to go up. And what's most interesting to me, I wish it gave us a little more detail, but enough to be tantalizing, whether you take it literally or think this is legend or myth, and you know how should we interpret this? And it says they saw God. What did God look like? Okay. Anybody know? His feet were on a sapphire, the like of sapphire. Not sapphire, but kind of like sapphire. Right? So he was big. Right? All they saw was his feet. Right? They were duly impressed. And after they got, Moses alone actually got the commandments, right? They sat down. What did they do? What are we going to do? They ate and they drank. They had an Oneg Sinai, right? Again, whether you want to take that literally or not is up to you. But the point is, as we read this literature, we sense God speaking through it. Whether each and every commandment is literally God's will, or whether this is the best that all the generations of our people in ancient times could come up with, and we've kept interpreting it ever after till we can apply it to us. It's a remarkable passage, not just the passage, but the whole thing is where we go to encounter God. Len Schweitzer is going to come up and do the Aliyah, not by accident, but I saw that we were doing the opening for his exhibit of wonderful photography. I think art is also a window on God, Torah, but also whatever lifts the human spirit, and some very wonderful paintings. You probably know it by heart, but there it is.
Okay. Baruch Adonai HaMavarach.
Baruch Adonai HaMavarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu torat emet.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. And I said paintings, but photographs. They're marvelous. Ve'el Moshe Amar, Alei el Adonai, Atav Aharon, Nadav Avihu, V'shivim miziknei Yisrael, V'hishtach Vitam merachok, V'nigash Moshe levado el Adonai, V'hem lo yigashu, V'ha'am lo ya'alu imo. Vayavo Moshe vayasaper la'am et kol divrei Adonai, V'el kol ha-mishpatim, V'ya'an kol ha'am kol echad vayomru kol hadvarim asher diber Adonai naaseh vayichtov Moshe et kol divrei Adonai vayashkem baboker vayiven mizbeach tachat hahar
Ushtayim v'shtem esrei matzeva l'shana asar shivtei Yisrael. Vayishlach et na'arei v'nei Yisrael v'ya'alu olot v'yizbechu zevachim shalamim l'Adonai parim. Vayikach Moshe chatzi hadam v'yasem ba'aganot v'chatzi hadam zarak al hamizbeach v'yikach sefer habrit v'yikra ba'oznei ha'am v'yomru kol asher diber Adonai na'aseh v'nishma. Vayikach Moshe et hadam vayizrach al ha'am vayomer hine dam haberit asher koret Adonai imchem al kol hadvarim ha'ele. Vayal Moshe va'aharon nadav va'avihu b'shivim miziknei Yisrael vayiru et Elohei Yisrael v'tachat raglav k'ma'aseh livnot hasapir etzem Hashamayim latohar ve'el atzilei v'nei Yisrael lo shalach yado vayichzu et ha'Elohim vayochlu vayishtu. To Moses he said, "Go up to God, you and Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, Aaron's sons, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and you shall worship from afar, but Moses alone shall come close to God." So they went forward, and the people did not go up with him. And Moses came, and he related all of these words of God and all these statutes. And all the people answered in unison. They said, "All these matters which God has spoken, we will do." So Moses wrote all these words or matters of Torah, of God, and he rose up early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain. There were 12 pillars for the 12 tribes of Israel making up this altar. Moses, sent forth youths of the children of Israel, and they brought up sacrifices, and they offered their peace offerings or offerings of well-being to God, bullocks. Moses took half of the blood, and he placed it on the horns of the altar, and half of the blood, and he sprinkled it on the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant, and he proclaimed it into the ears of the people. And all of the people said, "All which God has spoken we will do, and we will hearken to." Then Moses took the blood, and he sprinkled some on the people. And he said, "Behold the blood of the covenant which God is making with you," with regard to all of these Torah matters. Moses and Aaron and Nadav and Avihu then went up, and the 70 elders, and they saw the God of Israel. And beneath his feet was the like of a pavement of sapphire, the very essence of the heavens for radiance. And to the leaders of the children of Israel, or against the leaders of the children of Israel, God did not exert his power. They saw God, and then they ate and drank.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you. Would you rise, please, as we address the Torah?
Metzot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael api Adonai
You may be seated. Now, with the Torah still out, we are going to, reminding us of God's presence, we are going to say a prayer and sing a prayer for all who are ill in the community. It's on page 371, about a third of the way down, 25% maybe of the way down. We're going to name a bunch of people whom we know of that need our prayers, but then in a moment you can add whatever additional names you would like. Kelly Webb, Annette Dover, Frank Dover, Charlotte Fiwas, Corinne Jacobson, Lita Marashek, George Berger, Leslie Arnov, Stacy Lewis, Alan Lusky, Charlie Freed, Jeffrey Mark, Robert Klein, Patrick Cooney, Arthur Lederman, Margie Kotler, Susan Smith, Elliot Blumberg, and Arlene Reynolds. Anybody else to add? Thank you. Great. Thank you. Any others?
Elizabeth Cooper Martin.
Okay, thank you. May all of those individuals and whoever else might need our prayers know refuah shlema, full healing from God. Misheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Amen. On page 374 is the service for returning the Torah to the Ark. Would you please once again rise? Yahalelu et Shem Adonai ki nisgav shemo levado. Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted.
Hodo l'eretz v'shamayim v'yarem keren ne'amo ta'ila lechol chasidav livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'azovu. For I have given you good instruction, do not abandon my Torah.
Etz kaimi lama chasakim ba v'tol mechea meushar darchea drachenom v'chon tivotea shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashucha Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kakesh.
be seated. And you may be seated. Relax. Torah scrolls, as I was just saying, are the first place Jews go when we yearn for divine wisdom. Many of the best Jewish minds have been poring over the same stories, the same laws and narratives, even the word order and the apparent scribal errors from multiple generations of hand copying. We've been going over and over and over this for 2,000 years and more. When you read most books, you take in the content and you may or may not notice how skilled the writing happens to be. But after century of minute attention, if there's something unusual in the content of the Torah, you can bet that commentators over the ages have commented on it and tried to draw lessons from it. So in this week's parashah, which I just read, specifically in verse 7 of Exodus 24, after the whole Jewish people has stood at Sinai to receive a code of laws, the 10 Commandments for starters, but then 4 more chapters of important stuff, mitzvot, we declare together, Kol asher diber Adonai na'aseh v'nishma, all which God has spoken, we will do and we will listen to. To improve the prose style in English, if you look it up when you get home, it will read, all that the Lord has spoken, we will faithfully do. But there's no adverb in the Hebrew. Hebrew actually is kind of poor in adverbs. It doesn't say, we will do faithfully. It says, we will do and we will listen to. The major commentaries quickly see that the problem is more than just grammatical. We hear some commandments and we respond, we'll do them, and then we'll listen to them. See a problem? It's backwards. Should it not have said, we'll listen and we will do? First we should understand, then commit ourselves to acting on them. I hope that along with all the craziness in Washington lately, as Jews, you have also been listening to whatever stories come along of specific Jewish resonance. Our antennae, most of us, are always attuned to any evidence of anti-Semitism. We're not really feeling insecure, I don't think, in Fort Worth and the DFW area, probably even in America at large, though Charlottesville sure caught our attention powerfully some months back. Yes, we know the anti-Semites are still out there, but they're not mainstream, these wackos, right? Other than listening for more instances of what bigotry may remain, most of us really don't feel that insecure in our daily lives. We have very little contact with bigotry. Europe, however, is another story, or so I read. I haven't been there lately, or seen anything when I did visit briefly. But they have been witnessing, the Jewish communities of Europe, a rising tide of anti-Semitism for some years now. Rabbis and Hebrew school students beaten up in the streets in France, in Paris, and other places. A synagogue torched in Sweden, of all places, and more. Across Western as well as Eastern Europe, there is a xenophobic right wing tending to react very negatively to the flood of refugees from the Middle East and Northern Africa. And Jews are caught in the middle. On the one hand, there's a reaction against foreigners by the population at large, and after centuries of anti-Semitism, even 2 generations past the Holocaust, to many, foreigners still means Jews. Jews born there, loyal citizens. On the other hand, to tens of thousands of Muslim refugees who have been taught that Israel is the enemy and who are not yet making it in their adopted European lands, not integrated into society, how convenient to scapegoat their traditional, so they think, enemies, the Jews, as if a Sweden synagogue is an Israeli outpost. It's absurd. The latest news flash this week is from Poland, where the legislature has passed a bill to stop people from blaming the Polish portion of the Shoah on Poles. It was all those evil Nazis. Poles were victims too. Specifically, the new law makes it illegal, number one, to speak of concentration camps such as Auschwitz as Polish death camps. The New York Times story this week says, and I think reasonably, that is accurate. We shouldn't be talking about Polish death camps. Let me quote the story. Unlike in France or Norway, there was no collaborationist government in Poland. Nazis wanted to destroy their state and enslave the Poles. By the end of World War II, 6 million had been murdered of the Poles, including 3 million Jews, nearly half of all the Jews killed in the Holocaust. So 3 million Gentiles along with 3 million Jews in Poland. That's history. Non-Jewish Poles were also victims at Auschwitz and other death camps. What is not reasonable is the second part of this new law which passed, attempting to regulate speech. Apparently there's no Polish equivalent in their constitution of the First Amendment. Right? If the law stands, it will be illegal to accuse, quote, the Polish nation, unquote, of complicity in Nazi atrocities. Every student of Eastern European history knows that for centuries there were blood libels and pogroms and all kinds of horrible things going on against Jews in Eastern Europe. The borders shifted back and forth, and there's no need really to worry about the fine lines drawing as they shifted over the centuries between Poland and Russia and Lithuania and the Ukraine and the Pale of Settlement and all of that. The people of the whole region ingested anti-Semitism with mother's milk for centuries, making it, when the Holocaust came along, very easy to round up and exterminate Jews when the time came. Polish Jewish survivors reported the enthusiastic complicity in the roundup of their communities by their neighbors, including, rounding people up, putting them in their wooden synagogues that existed all over Poland and burning the synagogues down with the Jews in them. Even after the war, there were Jews who were murdered by Poles when they got out of the concentration camps and went back home to reclaim their homes and other properties. It is important to remember that there are 6,700 Polish Gentiles honored as among the Tzadikei Umot Ha'olam, the righteous of the nations of the world, at Yad Vashem in Israel, the largest group from any single country, Poles who risked their lives to shelter and hide Jews. Okay, there are good people everywhere, and they should be acknowledged in Poland too. And hatred of one group does not justify hatred by us or anyone else of another group. But truth is also important, and it is absurd. It is a lie to say the Polish people, though victims of the Nazis also, did not assist in the mass murder of Jews. We have to hear that, though it's no big surprise. The world has to hear that. Children in Poland, most importantly, must learn that and not be sheltered from it, or the pattern that causes such a thing can only be repeated. As for us, aware of the current danger to Jews in Europe, and even more, of course, in Israel, our children have to hear it too. Learn not only about Poland, but about the history as well as the current state of anti-Semitism. Which brings me back to the Torah portion. Na'aseh v'nishma, says the Torah. We should do and we should listen. Walking the walk counts for more than talking the talk or listening to it. Of course we have to listen and understand before we act. But talk is cheap. Deeds are what really matter. When it comes to self-defense as Jews and watching out for our fellow Jews wherever they may be, action is the primary thing. And talk, understanding even, study, secondary. Perhaps that is what the Torah was hinting at with placing na'aseh, the deed, before nishma, the listening. What happened years ago in Europe is directly relevant to what could, God forbid, happen in years ahead in the Middle East. The so-called unthinkable happens. Jewish survival in a dangerous world requires doing, sounding the alarm when needed, and when necessary, defending ourselves, as well as listening. The unthinkable happens. The Poles and others who may yearn for their innocence need to know that they're not so innocent. Ask the Biafrans, the Cambodians, the Rohingyas of Burma right now, and many more, if people who think of themselves as civilized would help in the murder of civilians, of innocents. The unthinkable happens all too often. And in a thermonuclear world, that should be a lesson for everyone. Amen.
Ruach Elohim, may God's Spirit be with you. Ruach Elohim, keep you safe from harm. May the love of God be your shelter from every storm. Yevarecha Adonai, Yishmerecha, Yair Adonai, Panav elecha, V'kumecha, Yis Adonai, Panav elecha, V'yesem lecha shalom. Ruach Elohim, may God bless you and keep you, bring you to the light and safe from harm. May the love of friends be your shelter from every storm. Yevarecha Adonai, Yishmerecha, Yair Adonai, Panav elecha, vechunecha is Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
The Aleinu is on page 586. As we open the ark, please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'hadon kakol latet kedula leotzer bereshit shehu noteh shamayim veyoser aretz umoshav yekarov Vashamayim mimar u'shechina u'so megoem meromim u'Eloheinu enod v'anachnu korim u'mishtakavim u'modim לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 589. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. May all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Al kein nekaveh lecha Adonai Eloheinu lirot mehera b'tiferet uzecha letakein olam b'malchut Shaddai. Adonai our God, how soon we hope to behold the perfection of our world, guided by a sacred covenant drawn from human and divine meeting.
V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad u'shemo
Page 596. We have lived in numberless towns and villages, and in too many of them we have endured cruel suffering. Some we have forgotten, others are sealed in our memory, a wound that does not heal. 100 generations of victims and martyrs, still their blood cries out from the earth. And so many at Dachau, at Buchenwald, at Babi Yar. What can we say and what can we do? How bear the unbearable or accept what life has brought to our people? All who are born must die, but how shall we compare the slow passage of time with the callous slaughter of the innocent, cut off before their time? They lived with faith, not all, but many. And surely many died with faith in God, in life, in the goodness that even flames cannot destroy. May we find a way to the strength of that faith, that trust, that sure sense that life and soul endure beyond this body's death.
They have left their lives to us. Let a million prayers rise whenever Jews worship. Let a million candles glow against the darkness of these unfinished lives. The Kaddish is on page 598, and we have our own dead as well, members of families and loved ones from years gone by to recall. So, Shloshim, people who have died within the past month: Ida Baumgarten, Sarah Cohn, and Cecily Renov. Yard sites, if anybody has one, you may rise as I read the names if you wish. Madeline Brody, Martin Brown, Benjamin Coopersmith, David Cott, Barbara Bobby Freed, Max Gilbert, Ray Marks Gilbert, Maria Gluck, Benny Goldstein, Michael Goldstick, A.J. Bob Booty, Gary Clapper, Aaron Cooperman, Leo S. Liederman, Peggy Lerner, Harold David Levy, Jimmy Owen, Marion Doris Pruitt, Laura B. Reynolds, Ruth Ross, Harry Rubin, Ike Sandler, Faye Sarfati, Joseph Sarfati, Maxine White-Shore, Murray Schweitzer, Melissa Sherman, Scott Sherman, Alan Sigmund, and Lucille Walderman. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May the memory of each individual righteous soul serve and continue to serve as a blessing. Please, as one community in mutual support, rise and join in Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach la'alam ula'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekucha berichu, le'elam in kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, damiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Imru Amen. Our closing song is going to be Yigdal on page 628, the first, second, and final of the verses.
Yigdal Elohim Ke'ai V'yishtabach Nimsa V'yenei Mekriuto Sorry Echad V'en Yachid K'yichudo Nelam v'gam ein sof le'achduto Ein lo damut haguf ve'eino guf Lo na'arot elav kedushato Kadmon lechol davar asher nivra Rishon ve'ein reshit le'reshito Chaye olam nata betocheinu Baruch Hashem tehilato Chaye olam nata betocheinu Baruch Hashem tehilato.
I don't see any pre-bar mitzvah folk out there, but we can still have a good party. Please join in the wine blessing and then the blessing over the challah. You can have that. Ready?
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kosho be'ahavat uvratzon inkilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit ki כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר לציית מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, אותנו קידשת מכהנים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנקטנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
Amen. And then we have a whole oneg out there, so don't go rushing off too quickly, and enjoy Leonard's photography while you're at it. Please join in.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Enjoyed your sermon. It's a difficult topic. Excellent. Difficult topic. Thank you.
So you want to take that? Okay.
My job is the taker of the bread.
Okay.